So, the Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 beta is officially over, which means it's time for me to share my honest review of the Modern Warfare 3 beta with you guys. Now, most of you guys already know my background with Call of Duty, but just in case you don't, I have been playing this franchise since Call of Duty 4. The original Modern Warfare trilogy is one of my favorite parts of the entirety of Call of Duty, and I not only played the Modern Warfare 3 beta extensively on both weekends, but I used every single gun, I played every single game mode, and tried virtually every playstyle imaginable for the sake of learning as much as I could about the game, but also to get the most well-rounded perspective of this game. The only playstyle I really wasn't able to get a grip on was melee only, but we'll talk about that later in the video. But you're probably wondering why I'm making this video in the first place, since last year I made a very similar video. It was a beta review for Modern Warfare 2, and almost nothing in that video got taken into consideration. Now, first off, I just want to say that I don't take any of that personally. We saw how Infinity Ward treated the community. It didn't matter who you were. You could just be a completely random person, or you could be one of their favorite creators. They didn't really listen to anyone. So yeah, I'm making this video anyway for two big reasons. The first reason is that I love this franchise and I want the game to be as good as possible. And if we don't tell the devs what we actually like about the game and what we don't like about the game and what we think can be done to improve the game, then we can't really expect anything to change or for anything to happen. And the second reason I'm making this video is actually one of the first positives I have about the beta, which is that Sledgehammer Games actually listened to the community and they were quick to make changes and patch things. The first couple of hours of the PlayStation beta was a nightmare thanks to the Battle Rage spam. If you guys didn't play the Modern Warfare 3 beta around that time, you basically had God mode once you unlocked Battle Rage, because it was like having quick fix all the time, except it was always proccing, which meant that it was always happening. So instead of certain guns maybe being like 4 to 5 shot kills, people had to use entire magazines just to hit marker movement kings. It was truly a crazy time, but thankfully Sledgehammer Games fixed that within a couple of hours. There were also really bad visibility issues in the first weekend of the beta, because when you looked at an enemy player, there was only a diamond above their head, but by the second weekend, they already added nameplates to enemy players. Something that we still don't have to this day in Modern Warfare 2, because you should not be able to run around the map without any consequences, according to Infinity Ward. So right off the bat, Sledgehammer Games is way more transparent, they're way more communicative, and it really does seem like they want our feedback, which right off the bat is why I'm making this video. I can't believe I'm saying this next thing is a positive, but basic expected Call of Duty features like red dots showing up on the minimap for firing unsuppressed weapons, reload canceling, map voting, kill cams, like classic kill cams, and dead silence as a perk, I mean boots, are back in the game.
Hey, God, I love you.
It's 2023, and having the bare minimum that we expect from the COD formula is back, which is a good thing. It's just a little sad. But GG to Sledgehammer Games for undoing all of the mistakes that Infinity Ward made with their take on Modern Warfare. Next up, I really do like the slower time to kill and movement changes. It does allow for more aggressive rushing playstyles, especially against campers, but interestingly enough, camping still works in this game. Don't be fooled by all the movement kings and people who are hyping up the movement. If you are a sentinel, you will still have a place in Modern Warfare 3. Even though it might be a little early to call it because we don't know exactly what the full game is going to be like, at least in the beta, it seems like they did find a balance between camping and rushing. Oh boy, this is actually one of my favorite parts of the Modern Warfare 3 beta, and I think you guys will really like this piece of equipment if you are going to buy the game. That would be the ACS Field Upgrade. Finally, something that is brand new, practical, and innovative, and it just helps the gameplay so much. This field upgrade is a must for solo players who are playing objective game modes who just want to play the objective when their teammates are ignoring it. This little cube is amazing for XP gains playing the objective, and I'm so happy that we have this in the game. Now, in the beta, it was buggy from time to time, but Sledgehammer Games was on top of patching it, and they made it properly work the way that it was intended to. And when this thing works, oh boy, it works. On average in Domination, when I was playing the objective really hard, I had like 10, 20 plus captures in a match. Now, granted, that was also kind of the spawns being really flippy, which we'll talk about later, but seriously, GG for making this field upgrade. We need more things like this in the game. The Breacher Drone is also a hilarious new piece of lethal equipment, although we did have something sort of similar to this in Infinite Warfare. It's simply just a C4 strapped to a YouTuber's drone cam that explodes near an enemy or on impact. And this thing just simply makes me happy, man. It puts a smile on my face anytime this stupid little thing flies into an enemy and blows them up. 10 out of 10.
You throw the drone and then 360, or did you 360
oh, here we go.
and then throw the drone?
Ooh.
Wow.
Look at his legs! Classic factions are sort of back. You might have noticed in the beta that they actually kept the classic faction names for the teams depending on the map that you were playing. This is a nice little throwback to the original Modern Warfare 2, and even though we'll still have wacky operators and skins in the game, this is still way better than my team versus your team. It should also be no surprise to anyone that the OG Modern Warfare 2 maps being the primary map content for this game is a giant W. Now, in fairness, that credit more or less goes to the original Infinity Ward team from 2009 for making the maps in the first place, but Sledgehammer Games actually did a good job remastering the maps and improving the movement and traversal on these maps. And while there were some various map glitches and things that did happen throughout the beta, Sledgehammer Games fixed them. Another nice little touch that this beta had was they gave us double weapon XP on Saturday and double player XP on Sunday. It was definitely a nice little addition. I don't know if I remember ever having this in a previous Call of Duty beta, but it was a nice attempt to encourage players to try out other guns and level them up. It's too bad it didn't work out though, because the ACR and the UMP45 were everywhere all the time. But I enjoyed it though. Throughout the Modern Warfare 3 beta, I almost maxed out pretty much every single gun, for no good reason at all. But I'm not just sitting here recording this video to praise Sledgehammer Games. I did want to point out all of the things that I really did enjoy in the beta, so that way they know what is actually working and what was good, but we also need to take the time to point out the things that were potentially bad. The things in the Modern Warfare 3 beta that needed some improving. I think you guys know where I'm going with this. Spawns. Aside from visibility, I have no doubt that this is going to be the #1 complaint for this game. But strangely enough, I don't think it's that much of a difficult issue to fix. Now, apparently it's been debunked that there isn't squad spawning in Modern Warfare 3. But how do you explain moments like this, where I had an enemy spawn in front of me and I killed him, and then one of his buddies spawned behind me and then shot me in the back? Oh, he's coming from tunnel. There's a bunch into. Wait, I spawned behind him. There's more of them! No! Oh my, why is an enemy spawned right next to me? And behind me. Wow. Is this just a terrible bad fixed spawn point, or was this squad spawning happening in real time? I can't necessarily say for certain, but what I do know is that there were some really bad repetitive spawns that put you in undesirable locations. As a prime example, look at Highrise Domination, where you consistently spawn underground. I spent an entire match not really focusing on killing enemies at all, but simply just playing the objective and observing the spawns. As I'm editing and working on this video, I'm going to have a spawn analysis, so I'll provide that right now. Alright guys, so welcome to my Highrise spawn analysis. Basically what I did for this entire domination match on Highrise is I just went for flags. I wasn't really intentionally trying to kill enemies. So what you're going to be seeing for this section of the video is me basically just dying a bunch, and you're going to see in real time all of the different spawns and all the different deaths that I had in the match. Now, I'm also going to put up on screen a little doodle that I had. It's more or less how I actually tracked all of the spawns. So what you're seeing here is the amount of times that I spawned underground on Highrise. I also tracked how many times I spawned near a friendly objective, which is a flag that we had, how many times I spawned near an enemy flag, like the enemy's objective, how many times I spawned in just a random place, and how many times I spawned near a squad mate, which would have essentially been what we call a squad spawn. Now, we ended the game 200 to 136. It was a victory. I went 12 to 36 with 12 caps, and there was only one death that was not really recorded. So what happened in this match is I was sniping at the beginning and then I just jumped off the map. So that accounts for one of the deaths. Out of the 35 deaths that I recorded, roughly 2/3 of my spawns on this Highrise match were underground. Now, thankfully, 8 of them were near friendly objectives and only a couple of them were not so ideal spawns. But clearly there is some kind of weird issue with spawning on Highrise, because this amount of spawns happening underground is just not great. While it is a predictable spawn without a doubt, it's not always the best spawn. It's not always the best place to put us. And I think over the course of the Modern Warfare 3 beta, a lot of players caught on to this. So a lot of people were actually just hanging out around this area to essentially spawn trap people who were spawning underground. So yeah, I think without a doubt, Sledgehammer Games is going to have to tweak the high-rise spawns, especially in Domination, to stop spawning us so frequently in the underground section, because man, it is something else. Obviously, the issue of spawns will only get more and more challenging since we're playing game modes that were never originally played on these Modern Warfare 2 maps. But I have a simple suggestion for improving the spawns. Make them more consistent and predictable. I'll give you guys a classic example. If we're playing Domination and my team has the A and B flag and the enemy team only has the C flag, they should keep spawning at C flag until our team has pushed too far into the enemy spawn. Only then should their spawns potentially flip out to either A or B. This kind of spawn system rewards people for playing the objective and learning the maps. And if you're not playing the objective, then you'll either need to start doing so or do what people did back in 2009. bunker down like a sentinel and fight your way out of the spawn. The domination spawns in Call of Duty games have basically been ruined ever since Call of Duty Ghosts. Being spawned behind the enemy team that is playing the objective properly and shooting them in the back does not teach anyone anything. It's simply just frustrating and unfair, and even noobs and casuals are not going to feel good about it. Because once those new players eventually get better and improve, they want to see the gameplay experience match that, and making the spawns the best they possibly can be will be rewarding no matter what kind of player you are.
Visibility.
Thankfully, Sledgehammer Games seems to be on top of this. For the first weekend of the beta, all we got was a tiny little diamond above enemy heads, but for the second weekend of the beta, we got full nameplates back. Now, I'm sure there will be some kind of counter in the full game that will hide it anyway, but it's great to see how quickly Sledgehammer Games made this improvement. But another problem with trying to identify enemies lies in the footstep volume. Simply put, teammates' footsteps are just too loud, and they can easily be confused with enemies, and this gets worse when you're using the bone conduction headset, which is basically Sitrep Pro or awareness from previous Call of Duty games. This is why there were so many instances of teammates shooting at you when you tack sprint around a corner and jump scare them. They genuinely think they're hearing the sound of enemy footsteps, but you're not actually an enemy player, you're just their teammate. An easy fix for this is to just reduce the footstep volume of your teammates by default, regardless of whether or not you're using the bone conduction headset or not. Being able to hear the footsteps of your teammates is honestly just kind of unnecessary, so it should really just be toned back. With how chaotic and crazy everything can get in a Call of Duty match, the last thing you really need to worry about or even hear is your teammates' footsteps clonking around. But even then, there's another issue with target acquisition, and that has to do with the graphics. Specifically the lighting in Modern Warfare 3. If we compare the maps in the beta to the original games, or even remakes in more recent Call of Duty titles, the maps look kind of washed out, dull, boring, almost like there's some kind of haze everywhere. Now, I combated this by cranking up the digital vibrancy on my PC when playing, but the game still looks depressing in recordings, and I always have to drastically adjust the color correction. Now, I'm not sure if this has something to do with HDR settings, or lighting, or gamma built into the engine or something. There could be something more in depth going on that I just don't understand, but I do know this. The original Modern Warfare 2 maps are some of the most distinct, bright, and colorful maps in the entire franchise, next to Black Ops 3. And I really do hope that they can tweak the default look of the maps to try to match that. Otherwise, I'm maxing the saturation on this game and I'm making my eyes bleed. I want to see colors again.
Attachments.
There were two main issues I had seen with attachments in the Modern Warfare 3 beta. For some godforsaken reason, we still have the Modern Warfare 2 attachment system where you have to use a different weapon to unlock an attachment for the weapon that you're using. For a fake and funny example, you would have to get the Pila to weapon level 26 to unlock the red dot sight for the UMP45 remastered. I really do hope that in the full game, we won't be relying on a system where we have to use every single weapon to unlock attachments for our guns. Now, I will personally use every single gun and max them out no matter how terrible they are, but this just is not an efficient way to distribute attachments in the game. Now, I can't speak in great lengths about the second issue with the attachments, but I did happen to hear that there were issues where even if you bought the $100 version of the game, there were certain attachments that the game did not simply give to you in the beta, which seems really counterintuitive. The people who paid the most amount of money for the game were actually locked off from using and getting certain attachments to use in the beta. Regardless of all this goofy nonsense going on with the attachments in the beta, I think the simple solution is to just go back to the simple attachment system where you use one gun and you get all the attachments unlocked for it. I do see what Infinity Ward was trying to go for with Modern Warfare 2, but I do think the overwhelming majority of players do not actually prefer this type of unlock system for the attachments.
Highrise spawn shot.
Even though I hit a triple in one of my first ever games of domination on Highrise, I really do think Sledgehammer Games needs to change the initial spawn points on this side of the map, specifically for game modes like Team Deathmatch, Kill Confirmed, and Hardpoint. Even if this was the original spawn points back on Modern Warfare 2, the initial spawn points should be equal on both sides, so that way both teams have a fair shot at getting around the map, and especially going for the iconic opening snipe at the beginning of the game. Aside from the hundreds, if not thousands of legendary trick shots that were hit on Highrise, a big part of this map was also the opening spawn shot. There's nothing quite like it on any other map, and Highrise is just incredible for that. So I'd love to see the initial spawn points reflect that at the start of the game.
Weapon balance.
Now, obviously we had a limited amount of guns to use in the beta, and any semblance of weapon balance is probably going down the toilet since max rank Modern Warfare 2 weapons will be usable at the launch of the full game. But putting that aside, this beta already had a 2-gun meta that infected almost every single lobby, the MCW and the Striker. better known as the ACR and the UMP-45. Now, even as far back as Advanced Warfare, Sledgehammer Games has had a track record of doing this and making my brain turn into absolute mush. But thankfully, the slower time to kill has made shotguns more competitive at close quarters against the SMGs, and the snipers are more competitive with ARs at range. But overall, I would like to see some of the weaker weapons in the game get buffed and have a chance to compete with the nerdy guns. I don't want to see us go in the direction of nerfing and punishing some of the best weapons in the game. I would just like to see some of the worst guns in the game get buffed so that way they have a chance to compete more. Again, it's really difficult to give feedback about weapon balance in a beta because we don't have access to every single gun in the game. So we don't really know what the meta is going to look like when the game's fully out, and we don't know if there's actually weapons that could be even better or stronger. So we will have to wait and see, but I think overall, since the time to kill is slower in this game, I would like to see weapons that aren't being used as much get buffed versus the strongest guns in the game get nerfed, and then everything is just really weak feeling.
Battle Rage.
Oh yes, the field upgrade that became a god tier tactical and then got into oblivion so hard that everyone switched back to flashbangs. We need to talk about health regen in this game. It probably feels slower than before, but you have to keep in mind that we have to regen an extra 50 health compared to most other Call of Duty games. I think what makes health regen even more confusing is that Sledgehammer Games has not alluded to the idea of stims or quick fix being in the full game. So we're left in the dark on how to instantly get a morphine shot injected into our eyeballs and continue to gun down everything in our path. If Battle Rage is our only option, then it'll probably need to get buffed again for the full game. Just don't give us Diet God mode again. Edit, as I'm recording this, I just realized that they did have a med box field upgrade, which kind of worked like a munition box, except you throw it down, and the next time you get shot and take damage, you're going to regenerate health twice as fast compared to your default health regen. At least that's what it felt like. It's not bad, but it's also not great either. I think what is nice about the med box is that you're basically sharing a one-use stim with your entire team. So while it is pretty useful for team play, I don't really feel like it actually replaces stims or quick fix. It's definitely a different take on trying to get your health back, but I don't think it's really the best one. And overall, I think Sledgehammer Games is going to have to continue tweaking these different items in the game because it doesn't really feel like they have a grasp on a perfect solution for all this.
You need a little revive.
I gotta be honest, I don't like the perk system in this game, but I don't hate it either. It's currently better than the disaster that was bonus and ultimate perks in Modern Warfare 2, but why not just go back to the tried and true red, green, blue perks from the classic games? When perks first got added in Call of Duty 4, it improved the game while also making it feel more arcadey, and it just added a lot of depth. Then Modern Warfare 2 came out 2 years later, and it enhanced this further by introducing pro perks, which not only made the existing perks stronger and more valuable, but it also deepens the progression system in the game. And lastly, with Modern Warfare 3 from 2011, they amplified this further by creating the Specialist bonus, allowing you to unlock every single perk in the game at roughly a 7 to 8 kill streak and turning you into a literal god. This upward trend of the perk system, while still keeping the balance and consistency intact, was key to the identity of the perk system in Call of Duty. But now, we have no colors, no innovation, no purpose behind doing these things. Don't get me wrong, the perks are still helpful and they still work, and I don't want them removed from the game. But specifically for this game, they changed the perks into gloves and boots and vests and things like that, but they don't actually cosmetically change your character's appearance in game. So why do this in the first place? I mean, damn dude, in Black Ops 1, we still had 3 tiers of perks, and your first tier perk would determine what your character looked like in game. So for example, if someone had a ghillie suit in Black Ops 1, you knew that they were using Ghost. There was no questioning it whatsoever. And again, it maintains the classic perk structure and maintained practical gameplay design. But in Modern Warfare 3, they can't do that because of the abundance of skins being sold. So this just doesn't make sense. And what I really hate about this is that I unfortunately don't have a great suggestion on how to improve this perk design besides just reverting back to the original one. But I know for a fact that that's just not a realistic change to ask of Sledgehammer Games at this point in development. So for the full game, we'll most likely just have to deal with what we've got in the game right now, but I really do hope that going forward, not even just for Sledgehammer, but for all of the Call of Duty games, I really do hope that they can find their footing with the perk system in Call of Duty again.
I'm lagging.
While I want to assume this one will remain a beta issue, much like how it was in Call of Duty Vanguard, I can't get over the fact that packet loss and latency variation and packet bursts were so common in this beta. Now, if you don't know what packet loss is or latency variation is, then I'll explain it in simpler terms. I'd be lagging like a dragon almost every single game. And I've got gigabit fiber internet and a god tier PC from Origin PC. So I can't imagine how much worse this is for those who are balling on a budget. We gotta press F to pay respects for these servers from the 1980s because they were not made to run Call of Duty betas. But for real, the connection issues for Call of Duty games are usually solved at launch, if not shortly after the full launch of the game, so I don't really anticipate this to be a massive sweeping issue, but I had to bring it up because of how often it was happening and messing up our matches. I'm packet bursting.
What
The ketchup packets are bursting everywhere. What do we do? Oh, that caused me to fall off the map. No, I'm pretty sure this is not going to be an issue in the full game unless they decide to completely vault any kind of knives or melee weapons, but the melee only players definitely got the short end of the stick in this beta. Compared to Modern Warfare 2, there was no way to really knife enemies, there was no throwing knife. You couldn't even remove your secondary and just equip fists in the beta. And the only way to really get melee kills is to hit enemies with the butt of your gun. You could unlock attachments that will increase melee damage, but some melee only players don't shoot guns. Like, at all. So this defeats the purpose for them and doesn't really give them anything to do in a beta like this. Call of Duty games are unique in the sense that everyone and every playstyle is considered. The slogan for Call of Duty used to be, "There's a soldier in all of us." I think that was actually coined back then in the original Modern Warfare 3. Whether that soldier wants to camp in the back of the map with a thermal LMG and ruin everyone's day, or run around like Mike Myers and slash everyone up, that's what makes Call of Duty what it is.
In short, there should have been a sword in the beta. Hit detection issues.
Some people might have thought that they were a skill issue if they used certain guns in the beta, but it's more likely that they tried out a gun with broken hit detection. The BAS-B was the prime example of this, because Sledgehammer Games actually acknowledged that it had broken hit detection, and they fixed it in the middle of the beta, which really did make it more usable. Now, I'm not sure if some of these guns were purposely designed to be bad, but guns like the AMR-9 and the Holger 26 were just terrible. Did you know that there's a marksman rifle version of the MCW, the ACR, that everyone was spamming? Yeah, it's the upgraded, harder hitting version of that gun. Do you want to know how many people used it in the beta?
5 people use this gun because it's trash.
Look, some of these guns might just be intentionally awful, but if a gun like the BAS-B has broken hit detection, who's to say that there aren't other guns with the same issue? Whatever the case might be, Sledgehammer Games will definitely need to stay on top of this in order to make sure that every gun in the game is viable to use.
Honorable mentions.
What is the deal with the weird crosshairs after dying? I mean, they don't always look that weird, but what is this? Default sniper flinch should be reduced. It's the only weapon class that is simply just penalized for existing. No other weapon class in the game experiences such severe flinch, and it seems unfair to punish them so much. I'm not saying remove the flinch entirely, but just dial it back a little bit. Not gonna lie, the dev errors were pretty annoying, especially when they take you away from domination high-rise lobbies. Dev error, okay. Well, good night.
Are you kidding me?
And can we please get this one fixed? The whole, like, not enough space to call in a UAV or counter UAV? I always had enough space in previous games. Why do I all of a sudden not have enough space to call it in? And before you sit there and comment, "Oh, Eric, it's because there's already a UAV or a counter UAV in the sky," that has nothing to do with it. If you're in a tight space, whether it's indoors or otherwise, for no good reason, the game just doesn't let you call it in. I think Sledgehammer Games actually is aware of this issue, and I really do hope that they can fix this because there's no need for this to be a thing. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming along this journey so far. We are about to enter the ugly territory.
Excuse me, sir. I hope my horrible ugliness won't be a distraction to you.
Not at all, boy! Don't worry about him, SpongeBob.
Now, thankfully, this section of the video is not going to be as big, but it is going to be very important. So listen up. The first god-awful thing that I would like to talk about in the Modern Warfare 3 beta will probably not surprise you guys at all. It is
Skill-based matchmaking.
It should be no surprise at all that skill-based matchmaking is on the list. Most COD players are tired of sweaty skill-based matchmaking ruining the fun, casual experience that they want and miss in Call of Duty. And if it was in the Modern Warfare 3 beta, it's most likely not going anywhere. But for this section of the video, I did at least want to mention that even if I was using some of the worst guns in this beta and going triple negative with low score, I was still getting sweaty lobbies filled with ACRs and UMP-45s, which just doesn't make sense. I really don't want to sit here and boost my ego by saying, well, I'm just so good at the game that no matter what I use, I'm always playing against the most elite COD nerds soaked in gamer gunk. But at the same time, that's simultaneously the experience that I had in this beta. I just don't understand how the skill-based matchmaking is seeming to get stronger and stricter, but also more stupid as time goes on. But I think we all know at this point, it's not going anywhere. You can't ask them to remove skill-based matchmaking because that's just not going to happen. They won't address it, they won't talk about it, and they won't remove it. So if this is a breaking point for you, then Modern Warfare 3 is most likely not going to change your mind, and I'd really recommend trying out XDefiant when it releases. It's going to be a free-to-play game with no skill-based matchmaking in the casual playlists. So if you're missing that kind of experience in Call of Duty, you can either check that game out or continue to play older COD games prior to Modern Warfare 2019, because for the new era of Call of Duty, it's not going anywhere. So since skill-based matchmaking is, once again, most likely not going to be removed from the game, I'm going to make a suggestion for improving the existing system while still giving us, the players, more choice. They could consider adding a setting which allows us to choose our matchmaking preference. The default setting would be a balance between prioritizing connection and skill, and the other two settings would allow players to prioritize either connection or skill, allowing us to have control over the matchmaking experience without having to drastically change how it works on their end. I'm offering up this suggestion because I know for a fact that they are not going to remove skill-based matchmaking, they're not going to reduce it for casual playlists. The hard truth pill that we all have to swallow is that skill-based matchmaking is in the game to protect new players, casual players, and possibly even players with disabilities from people like us who just want to stomp all over them. But I do want to add that it is very counterintuitive to have this strict of skill-based matchmaking in a game that is going to have a ranked mode later on. I just still can't fully wrap my head around the idea of the casual fun playlist in the game still having skill-based matchmaking that is just as strict, if not more strict, than the skill-based matchmaking that you'll find in ranked play. Like I mentioned back in Modern Warfare 2, I actually dropped multiple MGBs in ranked play. Now, granted, you couldn't actually earn the streak and call it in, but I was getting on 30+ gun streaks in the respawn game modes in ranked play. I had a really hard time doing that in typical multiplayer. So even though I don't really have any expectations for them to fully remove skill-based matchmaking or even make it work properly in Call of Duty games, I really just hope at some point they can at least tweak the skill-based matchmaking to be more reflective of your playstyle. The thing that I miss the most in newer Call of Duty games is getting into matches with more variety. For the Modern Warfare 3 beta, at least, I did not really see a lot of playstyle variability. And I gotta be honest, I don't know if that's skill-based matchmaking's fault or the actual community itself, because most people just wanted to use the easiest guns in the game, which were the ACR and the UMP45, and they didn't want to really try much else. But either way, I could go on and on ranting about skill-based matchmaking forever, so we're gonna move on to the next one.
Ground War.
Wow. What a disaster. I was having fun at first on Popov Power, but the problems were rapidly slipping through the cracks as the beta went on. Under the map glitches, ugly map rendering, terrible optimization on Orlov military base, and generally bad map flow all around made Ground War a surprisingly bad experience in the beta. What disappoints me the most is how Modern Warfare 2019's version of Ground War is still superior in every way. Typically, the maps had the best flow, they had easy maneuvering for vehicles, and decent optimization. It just feels like they haven't been able to match that success ever since. The Ground War experience in the Modern Warfare 3 beta was just so heavily degraded from previous games, and I really hope that they can turn it around when the full game comes out. But even then, I'm not sure what they can do to improve the two maps that we played in the beta. I think the biggest difference between Modern Warfare 2019's map design and Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare 3's Ground War map design is that the sections of Verdansk that we played on were typically much more open and vehicle focused, which really had Modern Warfare 2019 competing with Battlefield in terms of gameplay. Whereas now the maps are just competing to be playable. I mean, they're barely even playable. Just look at this footage. Everyone.
Why is it so laggy?
It's so
I
bad.
see you lagging. Oh my god. This is hilariously atrocious. Here we go, here we go. Oh my god, it's like a 2 FPS. It's okay, we're
Wow.
What?
Uh-oh.
Slow-mo roadkill.
It's so laggy. Existing, it's not existing.
Easy as APC, am I right, guys? Too bad the servers aren't easy as APC.
Dude, holy what?
Bro, Roblox got more stable servers than this. Great, it's a guy can't do this now.
Losing by 8 is crazy.
Oh my god, what's
Very
this?
nice.
Look at those guys are fucking one.
Oh, flat.
All pro.
I want that loadout, man.
What in the?
Oh, it is very armored.
Armored. Oh, dude, I just watched a helicopter teleport.
This is how I stay.
It's a helicopter.
Helicopter.
What the fuck is this?
Oh.
I didn't think that would actually happen.
Honestly,
like this.
this helicopter lagging is worse than Pokemon Scarlet and Violet at launch. What in the hell? And what worries me even more is that both of these Ground War maps are undoubtedly just sections of the Warzone 3 map Urzikstan. So even if you're not the biggest fan of Call of Duty Ground War, these issues will more than likely spill over into the Warzone experience.
May Phase Neptune have mercy on our souls.
And last but certainly not least, my final complaint for the Modern Warfare 3 beta.
This is not okay. This needs to stop now.
Cheaters/hackers.
Now look, hackers weren't running rampant throughout this beta. There were a small number of players with PS4 dev kits that had access to mod menus during the first weekend of the beta. But you already know that people will be cheating left and right when the game fully comes out. Cronus, VPN bot lobbies, paying for mod menus, all this sad clown behavior needs to stop. As I'm recording this video, I actually found some footage of the quote, movement kings with pink guns using aimbots in the second weekend of the beta where you could actually play on PC. So I'm pretty sure that the game actually does have mod menus, it just hasn't been fully debunked yet. But I do want to just point out something that's very despicable that these players are doing. The reason why they do the movement king stuff is actually to distract from the fact that their gun is locking onto the enemies they're shooting. The reason they're actually flicking their mouse all over the place and trying to distract what's going on the screen is because they're actually just cheating. At least more often than not. I'm sure there are some legit players who for some godforsaken reason play this way, but come on, man. If someone has a pink gun that no one else can access and they're doing this type of stuff, they're clearly cheating. And I really, really do hope that Sledgehammer Games and Activision stay on top of banning cheaters and keeping the game from falling apart, especially when Modern Warfare 3 gets ranked play. There are so many people that cheat in ranked. And I really do think that this is where they need to take a more strict approach on the game. Instead of trying to harvest data from the hackers and the cheaters, they need to just ban them. Stop them from playing any Call of Duty games. Enough is enough. These people log on to the game every single day with the sole intent of ruining the experience for everyone else. And you need to do something to stop them.
It's time to stop!
But yes, this was my honest review of the Modern Warfare 3 beta. Whether it was the things that were good, bad, or ugly, I wanted to talk about every little bit of this beta because I actually did have a lot of fun playing it. It was good. There was a nice little mix of having OG nostalgia from previous games while also throwing in some new elements into the gameplay. Now, the best way I can wrap up my initial thoughts from playing the Modern Warfare 3 beta and really getting some hands-on time with it, it really just feels like a refined Modern Warfare 2, where they did listen to the community feedback and actually made some changes. And realistically, this is the game that we should have gotten last year. At this point, it really just feels like we're playing a big game of catch-up because of how little Infinity Ward listens to the community last year. And I said this while I was playing the Modern Warfare 3 beta, and I'm going to reiterate it again. This game is most likely the closest we'll ever get to the original Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer remastered. I can't say for sure if the game is worth $70 and if it's worth you guys going out of your way to buy this game and play it. I would say if you're hesitant about buying Modern Warfare 3, that's what you have me for. I'm going to buy the game, I'm going to be playing it extensively, and I will obviously be covering it. So if you guys watch my videos or if you're subscribed to the channel, you will be able to see in real time how things are going and if this game is actually going to be worth it for you. For me personally, even putting content creation aside, I would still buy this game just because of the OG maps. We will most likely never get another Call of Duty game like this that's going to bring over that many classic maps all at once. And I loved the original Modern Warfare 2 and I had so much fun playing it, even with all of the disastrous problems that it had. It was still an incredible gaming experience and we're getting another taste of that in 2023 and I'm not gonna miss that. And going forward, I really do want to see Sledgehammer Games continue to improve this game and work alongside the community to truly deliver a really good Call of Duty experience. So with that being said, thank you guys very much for watching. I really do hope you guys made it all the way through. I really do appreciate you guys giving me your time and listening to what I had to say about the Modern Warfare 3 beta. Even though the Modern Warfare 3 beta is over, I still have a lot of really great recordings and stuff saved up from when I played the beta. So if you guys did enjoy this video and you want to see some more Modern Warfare 3 stuff, make sure to drop a like. I'll see you guys later.
Outcome. Train goes.